The stories of Mahabharata, retold by Sudipta Bhaumik. Welcome, dear friends, to another episode of The Stories of Mahabharata. In the last episode, we heard how the Sangsaptaks tried to draw away Arjun from Yudhishthir to help Drona keep his promise to Duryodhana. Arjun kills them mercilessly and also kills Bhagadatta and his giant elephant. In the Kaurava camp, a dejected and frustrated Duryodhana waited for Drona. Drona was ashamed to come to Duryodhana, but he had to. Duryodhana looked at him and said, "Gurudev, today you had Yudhishthir in your grip, yet you didn't capture him. I kept my part of the bargain and held Arjun far away from Yudhishthir, and in the process lost many of our friends. But you failed to keep your promise. I didn't expect this from you." "I am really sorry, Duryodhana," said Drona. "I don't have to tell you how difficult it is to overcome an opponent who has Krishna on his side." Duryodhana wasn't happy with the answer. To appease him, the old Brahman said, "But don't you worry. Tomorrow, I promise to kill at least one of the Pandava giants. I will create such a formation that only a handful of people know how to penetrate. Arjun is one of them. You just keep Arjun busy on another part of the battlefield while I'll trap the Pandavas in the formation and kill them." On the 13th day morning, the Sangsaptaks once again lured Arjun far away from the rest of the Pandavas. Arjun couldn't refuse their challenge and engaged in a vicious battle, and yet another attempt to annihilate them from the earth. On the other side of the battlefield, Yudhishthir saw the Kaurava army approaching him in a formation that was never seen before in this battle. Drona had created the invincible Chakra Vyuha, or the wheel formation, with all the Kaurava generals including Duryodhana, his son Lakshman, Dussashan, Karna, Salva, Kripa, Shakuni, Jayadratha, and all others protecting the vantage points. Yudhishthir knew only Arjun had the knowledge to penetrate this formation, but he was nowhere to be seen. Yudhishthir panicked and called Drishtadumna. "What do you think we should do? Without Arjun, the Kauravas will soon engulf us in this formation and kill us all." Drishtadumna, the Pandava commander-in-chief, was in a fix too. The only way to counter Drona is to somehow break open the formation and attack the Kauravas from inside. But it is impossible to fetch Arjun now. Abhimanyu, the teenage son of Arjun, was on his chariot next to Yudhishthir. He said, "Uncle Yudhishthir, I know how to penetrate the wheel formation." Yudhishthir was surprised. "You do? But how? You are too young to know this complicated skill." Abhimanyu said, "While I was in my mother's womb, I heard my father explain the strategy to someone. That's how I learned the trick." But what?" Yudhishthir was impatient. "I know how to penetrate the wheel and get in, but I don't know how to get out of it. My mother fell asleep before my father could explain the exit strategy, and I could hear no more." Yudhishthir could finally see a silver lining in Abhimanyu. He said, "Today, our survival depends on you, my boy. You break open the formation for us and don't worry about the exit. We will follow you and bring you out of the formation safe and sound." Bhim said, "My son, you only open the formation for us. I, along with Drishtadumna and Satyaki, will storm in and disseminate the formation by killing the Kaurava guards. You will be out in no time." "It will be an honor to be of service to my family at this time of crisis," said Abhimanyu. "I will pierce the wheel and show Drona that I may be a teenage boy, but I am no less than any of them." Yudhishthir prayed for his success as Abhimanyu drove his chariot towards Drona's army. Abhimanyu's charioteer Sumitra wasn't too sure about this adventure. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he asked Abhimanyu. "Drona is an indomitable warrior and he won't show any mercy to you just because you are the son of his favorite student." Abhimanyu laughed and said, "I am not afraid of Drona or any of the Kaurava warriors. I am skilled enough to take on anybody, even Lord Indra if he wants to fight me. Now stop worrying and take me to the head of the formation. That's where I plan to pierce the wheel and tear apart Drona's army." Within moments, the 16-year-old boy broke through Drona's impenetrable formation with ease. Nothing could stop him. Once inside, Abhimanyu launched a fierce attack on the Kauravas and began to kill hundreds of warriors. Duryodhan called upon all his generals and said, "Abhimanyu has entered our formation, but we won't let him get out alive. Attack him with all your might." Drona, Kripa, Ashwathama, Salya, Karna, along with Duryodhan and Dusashan, the 7 great charioteers, encircled Abhimanyu and launched their attack. But they could hardly contain him. Abhimanyu's arrows hit Salwa's helmet and knocked him out. Salwa's brother tried to replace him, but Abhimanyu cut him down to pieces in no time. Drona was thrilled to witness Abhimanyu's gallantry. He called Kripa and said, Look how that young lad is fighting. I haven't seen such a skilled warrior before. I'm sure he'd soon surpass his father Arjun." Duryodhan was furious to hear these words. He looked at Dusashan and Karna and said, "Drona doesn't want to kill his favorite student's son. Don't wait for him. Let us finish off the boy as soon as possible." Dusashan said, "Leave Abhimanyu to me. I'll kill him." He stormed ahead to face Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu laughed at Dusashan and said, "Welcome, dear uncle. Today you will pay for your sins." He hurled a spear at Dusashan, and Dusashan dropped unconscious on the chariot floor. As Dusashan's charioteer turned around to take him to safety, Karna and his brothers stepped in to fight Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu's arrows soon decapitated Karna's brother and overwhelmed Karna, who had to turn away to save himself. While Abhimanyu was fighting the Kauravas inside, the rest of the Pandavas were struggling to enter the wheel. Just as Abhimanyu broke through the formation, Jayadrath closed the entrance behind him and stood guard along with his soldiers. Bhim, Satyaki, Drishtadumna, Sikhandi, Drupad, along with the other Kaurava warriors, tried their best to get past Jayadrath, but failed miserably. Few years ago, when the Pandavas were in exile, Jayadrath made a failed attempt to abduct Draupadi. Bhim caught him and beat him severely, but spared his life. Deeply hurt, Jayadrath went on a long penance to appease Lord Shiva and ask him to give him the power to kill the Pandavas. However, Shiva didn't oblige, but gave him the boon that except for Arjun, he would be able to beat the rest of the Pandava brothers for one day in his life. Today was the day. Jayadrath stood tall and fought with such vigor that none could enter the formation, and Abhimanyu was left alone fighting the Kaurava warriors. Abhimanyu's arrows killed Salva's son Rukmarat, Brihadbal, and Duryodhan's son Lakshman. Losing his favorite son to Abhimanyu made Duryodhan desperate. He commanded his generals, "I want to see Abhimanyu dead." Kill him any which way you can. The 7 charioteers surrounded Abhimanyu and attacked him from all sides, but with little effect. Drone looked at Abhimanyu and said, "If Abhimanyu's arrows kill me today, I will die happy. He is indeed the greatest warrior I've ever seen." Karna was bleeding all over. With bloodshot eyes, he said, "I need immediate medical attention. Still, I am here only to serve my friend Duryodhan. Tell me, Gurudeva, tell me, how can I win over Abhimanyu?" Duryodhan looked at him and said, "I don't think you can pierce his armor from the front. It is indestructible, since he used the same technique to wear it as I had taught his father Arjun. If you want to beat him, strike him from behind. First, destroy his bow, and then his chariot. That's the only way to get him." Karna immediately turned around his chariot to position himself behind Abhimanyu, while the others kept him busy in the front. In quick succession, Karna cut down Abhimanyu's bow and killed his charioteer and his horses. As the chariot came to a crashing halt, Abhimanyu jumped off with a machete and a shield in hand. Drone shot an arrow at Abhimanyu that sliced off the machete at the grip. Abhimanyu picked up a discus and ran towards the Sashan. Drone cut it down to pieces. Abhimanyu looked around and found a mace lying nearby. He picked it up and whirled it around his head and ran towards Duryodhan. Dusashan's son swung his chariot behind Abhimanyu and struck his head with his mace. The huge blow knocked him out, and the boy lay unconscious on the battlefield with blood gushing out from his cracked skull. The 7 charioteers circled him and struck him continuously with deadly weapons to make sure the boy is dead. Duryodhan let out a great cry of joy. The others joined him, except for Drone, who sat silently on his chariot. When the news of Abhimanyu's fall reached the Pandavas, panic struck amongst the soldiers. They felt the Pandavas had no hope against Drone and began to flee in hordes. Yudhishthira tried to reason with them. "Don't panic, my friends. Abhimanyu was killed in an unfair battle by the 7 cowards. Yet he fought gallantly and died like a true Kshatriya warrior and has gone to the heavens. We should not cry for him. Rather, we should feel inspired to fight like him for the victory of the rightful heirs to the throne." The words calmed the warriors, but deep inside, Yudhishthira felt like a part of him was dead forever. The pain and guilt he felt for not being able to keep his words and protect Abhimanyu burned his soul like molten lava. He looked at the sky and prayed, "How long? How long, O Lord, do you wish to punish me? For how long?" Soon the shadows grew on the battlefield as the sun went down, ending the 13th day of the war. The Pandavas returned to their tents in deep silence and fought hard to control their tears.
The Stories of Mahabharata is written, directed and told by Shripta Bhawmik. Audio engineering, original music and sound design by Avi Ziv. Find us online at facebook.com/Mahabharata podcast. Join the group for updates and news. Subscribe to the podcast using iTunes or any other podcast catcher. On Twitter, we are at Mahabharat Audio.